In Eastern religions, we hear this phrase a lot, that everything is God. In Gurbani, I believe it's Sant Namdev Ji who says, Sabhu Gobindu Hai, Sabhu Gobindu Hai, Gobind binu nahi koi. How can everything be God? When you see the things in the world, they all appear distinct. The sky behind me, the clouds, the trees, the lamps, they all feel distinct. They all feel like distinct entities. So how can they be God? There's people who do evil things. They molest children, they murder people. How can they be God? How can all this be God? All these things which appear to be distinct, they appear to be made of different things, different stuff. And the clouds, they're made of water and air. The sky, the atmosphere is different gases. All these things appear to be made of different stuff, different things. How can it all be the same? How can the atmosphere, which is composed of different gases and water, be the same as the ground, which is composed of soil and all kinds of twigs and insects and all these things? How can these things be the same? What is the bridge between these? The word God, I believe, is largely misunderstood. In my view, most people are misunderstanding what God means and what God is. The way I see it, Sant Namdev Ji and these Eastern spiritual teachers and philosophers, when they are talking about God, what they're referring to is consciousness. When they're talking about the truth, the ultimate truth, they're talking about consciousness. Because all these things in the world, like the sky and the soil and people and other organisms, they all change. But the fact that you are aware of these things, that never changes. The fact that you are aware is something that you can rely on, whereas the things that you experience may turn out to be something else entirely. The example that they usually give in Eastern philosophy and Eastern religions is mistaking a rope for a snake. And they also have stories where people mistake snakes for ropes. So your mind can be mistaken. It can misunderstand things. But the fact that you are aware of your misunderstandings and your mistakes, That's always there. That's always true. So what you thought to be, what you thought was one thing and turned out to be another, that may be false. If you mistake a rope for a snake, that is false. But the fact that you are aware of yourself making that mistake, that's true. So your awareness is always there. It's always something that is true that you can always rely on. And when the Eastern philosophies are talking about God, what they really are talking about is awareness. They're simply talking about you being aware of the world. At least that's where they start, and then they start to add on things to that. But that's where they start. So how can everything be awareness? Do you have access to anything else other than awareness? Is there anything else you know other than awareness? All of your senses feed into awareness. Your eyes, what you see, your ears, and what you hear, your tongue and what you taste, all of these things are feeding into awareness. And awareness is then creating this, it's taking all that data and it's giving you the perception of the world. All the things you perceive them in awareness. You might think, well, I don't have access to all of the things, you know. I don't have, like, I can use a telescope to enhance my sight, and I can see far, I can see into the stars. All of that still is feeding into your awareness. You're still perceiving the stars within your awareness. So everything that you know of is part of awareness. When you see a tree, when you see the cloud, it's all a part of your awareness. If somebody else goes out and uses a telescope and then tells you about something that they saw, that what they saw was still perceived in awareness. And we often ascribe different stuff to the things that we perceive. We think that they're made out of different things. They're made out of a different material. But really, if all you really have, if all you have access to is awareness, then all of these things, they must be composed of something to do with awareness. Because when you're looking out, all you're really seeing is your awareness. Are you seeing something else other than awareness when you look out? There's a whole bunch of trees around me. When I'm looking at the trees, am I looking at something else other than looking at something else other than awareness? Since all we really have access to is awareness, it's not really possible for us to really perceive anything other than it. So all the things that you're seeing, this is what awareness looks like when it's processed by the brain. All of what you're seeing is what awareness looks like when it's processed by your brain. So this is why they say that everything is God. What they mean is everything is awareness. All of it is awareness. And then at the same time, you'll have Eastern philosophers who might say that awareness is beyond all of this, and that what you're seeing is not awareness. There's a popular mantra, neti neti, which means not this, not that. Awareness is not this, not that. So if everything is awareness, what does this mean? What does it mean to say that awareness is not this and not that? It sounds kind of confusing, doesn't it? If everything is awareness, what does it mean to say that awareness is not this, not that? The reason for that is because we have a tendency to get lost in the world and not recognize that it is awareness in which we are perceiving it. We have a tendency to get lost in content and not realize that it is awareness in which we are perceiving this content. So the saints and the philosophers will say that awareness is not this, not that. That's a tool. It's a tool to cut out everything that is not awareness. Because awareness doesn't really have any kind of form of its own. So when they say that awareness is not this, not that, they're trying to direct your attention towards that in which you are perceiving all of these things. And once you see that all of this is being perceived in awareness, that's when you realize that all of what you're seeing is actually an appearance of awareness. It's activity of awareness. The forms it's generating are different things, different parts of awareness. Because awareness is ultimately detached, it's ultimately separate from any particular content. That's why they say that awareness is not this, not that. Because in that example of mistaking a snake for a rope, the fact that you mistook it means that that rope, that snake, wasn't really a snake. It was a rope. It turned out to be false. But the fact that you were aware of it, that was true. So awareness is distinct from any particular object. So there are saints who will say that nothing in this world is awareness. Awareness is beyond this world. Because you're perceiving the world, but you're not perceiving awareness. You're not really seeing awareness. You don't know awareness, and you think that the world is made of all these different things, which if you want to study the world, you'll have to study all these different elements that the world is made of, for sure. But the background of all these things is awareness. And in the beginning, when you're trying to understand this and you're trying to meditate and you're trying to see awareness for what it is, you'll kind of be thinking about it from your own perspective and how you might think that when you're asleep that you're no longer aware of things. Or that when you're unconscious, you're no longer aware of things. And certainly people do use awareness and consciousness to mean, the state when they're conscious. But here we're using this term a little bit differently. Here we're using this term as a background to all of your experience, whether you're conscious of your experience or not. It's all awareness. So as Sant Namdev ji says, Sabhu Gobindu Hai, Sabhu Gobindu Hai, Gobind Binu Nahi Koi. He says other than Gobind, other than awareness, there's nothing else. Everything that you see is awareness. It's all awareness. And there's nothing else there other than awareness. Awareness is called, in Gurbani it's called Atma, in Eastern philosophy it's called Atma. It's also called Paramatma. And Gautam Buddha, when he saw that people were mistaking Atma for a thing, rather than seeing awareness, they were mistaking Atma as a thing within awareness, as a self. Then he called it Anatma. He said there is no Atma, right? Because people were perceiving Atma as another form in awareness, and not recognizing awareness. Because awareness is not a thing. Awareness doesn't have a form of its own. All the forms you perceive are perceived in awareness, but awareness itself doesn't have a form. So when Gautam Buddha says that there is no Atma, he's still referring to awareness. He's still talking about awareness. And he is rejecting those concepts which take people away from awareness. Wherever he saw people were mistaking something for awareness, or not seeing awareness, and using that concept incorrectly, he simply rejected the concept and said, there's no Atma. So there's no self. There's no. What he means is there's no. Because this idea of awareness can be mistaken. It can be mistaken for yourself. You might, rather than seeing yourself as just another object in awareness, you might mistake that self for awareness. Because you might think, I'm aware of these things, and with that I, you've associated your body and your mind and your brain. And all of this is appearing in my awareness. And what they picture is some kind of brain perceiving it all and generating it all. Some kind of mind, some kind of body that's, aware of things. That's what they're thinking. And that's not really what awareness is, because all of these things, you can see them within awareness. Your body and your mind, these are objects that you can perceive within awareness, and so they're not awareness. They're an activity of awareness. So do not mistake awareness for your Hamma, basically. Hamma is that quality where you perceive yourself, where you identify with yourself so much that you think that that's who you are. That Hamma is something that is very much attached to your body and your mind, your individual, your personal body and your mind. And it kind of veils awareness. And you want to be careful. You want to be careful and recognize the distinction between home and awareness, between who you think you are, yourself, your personal self, and this awareness in which, if you pay attention, you can perceive that very self. So what we think is our awareness, if you can perceive that within, if you can look at that as an object, then that's not awareness. Awareness is the background of that. So at any point, ask yourself, if you think you have come close to awareness, ask yourself, am I perceiving this? Is there a space in which this is being perceived? And then pay attention to that space, that background space. That's awareness. Again, it doesn't have a form of its own. Which is why you have all these different philosophies that try to get you there, and they do it in different ways, which seem contradictory, but they're not once you understand awareness. So from an outsider's perspective, when they study all these religions, like Buddhism and Hinduism and Sikhism, they'll see that they're talking about different things. But what they miss, because they don't understand awareness, they miss out on the fact that they're actually referring to the same thing, which is awareness, which is consciousness. And of course, consciousness and awareness are also being used in different ways in English, but we're referring to the background of all the experience. So if you guys have any more questions regarding this topic, if there's something that wasn't clear, or if there's any other topic on your mind, let me know, and I will try to address it. I'll talk about it. There's nothing that's taboo. There's nothing that's off topic or off limits. Whatever you guys have on your mind, we'll talk about it. All right, guys. I hope that helped. I hope it added some clarity into what awareness is and what, this Eastern philosophy and Gurbani, what these things are talking about. I hope that this talk brought some clarity. I'll see you guys later.